Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. This is episode 21 of Karl's Spirit Month. And this is the week we're following a theme of big bourbons. We are looking at bourbons with high proof. In this case, all of the bourbons that we're going to be sampling this week will have a proof of over 110. That is more than 55% alcohol. For tonight, we're going to be looking at 1792 full proof. 1792 full proof. This is 125 proof in the bottle. So it's a very hefty proof on tonight's pour. Before we get into tonight's pour, let's go ahead and thank our sponsor for tonight. That's Barrel 131. I don't have my shirt on. I'm sorry, but I had to wash it. It's still wet in the dryer. But let's go ahead and thank Barrel 131. They were very generous in providing this spirit for my consideration tonight. All the thoughts are mine, have no reflection on Barrel 131, but guys, shop local. Give Barrel 131 a call for your curbside pickup order today. So Barrel 131, thank you very much. Let's talk a little bit about 1792. 1792 Full Proof is produced by the Barton 1792 Distillery, which is in turn owned by the spirits giant Sazerac, who also owns one of my favorite distilleries, Buffalo Trace. Now, I keep referencing who owns what, and I think what you're going to find over time is that about 95 to 97% of all the bourbon produced in the United States is produced by about 10 large companies. It may be under different brands, but the company is owned in turn by someone else. In this case, Sazerac owns Barton 1792. Unlike a lot of Sazerac offerings, who are all bottled on their Frankfurt campus, like Buffalo Trace, Barton 1792 is actually a completely separate distillery. It is located in Bardstown, Kentucky. And it is named in honor of the year that Kentucky became a state, 1792. So a little history there for you. The distillery was first opened in 1789 by a gentleman named Tom Moore. And Moore and his son continued to own 1792, the Moore Distillery, if you will, all the way through the 1800s. Eventually, they sold it. It changed hands a number of times. It closed during Prohibition. And once it emerged from Prohibition, it kind of struggled around for a number of years under the name of Ridgemont Reserve 1792. Finally, Sazerac purchased the distillery and the brand in, I think, 2008, 9, somewhere in that neighborhood. And they simply shortened the whole thing to simply 1792. They make a variety of products. They include a small batch. They include what they call their sweet wheat. They include a single barrel expression. They have a port finished expression. And they have a bottled in bond as well. Today, we just happen to be looking at that 125 full proof. This is the exact proof as it went into the barrel. So they've probably cut this a little bit with some water to bring the proof back to 125. But overall, it should be pretty much what it tasted like as proof-wise as it went into that barrel. The mash bill on this has been undisclosed, but rumors here and there put this at around 75% corn, about 15% rye, and 10% malted barley. 1792 calls this a high rye recipe. Only 15% rye. We've seen some ryes in the neighborhood of 30 already in these tastings. It is bottled at 125, and it does not have a year, although when it was first introduced back in 2016, it came out at 8.5 years. So in the glass, like I said, I've been tasting on this for quite a while today, and this is another beautiful copper color. I'm going to call this one medium. It doesn't have the deep luster of, let's say, that 1920 we tasted last night, or on our previous episode. That's episode 19. But still beautiful. I'm calling that medium copper. It's 125 proof, so it's got really good thick line, alcohol, sugar line on the glass. Really thick, really sticky. So that high proof is really showing up there. Speaking of that high proof showing up, on the nose, you get spice. It's not baking spice. It's not allspice. It is simply heat. It's hot. It's a hot rye spice. But really, the thing that stands out to me the most about the nose on this is the smokiness. That's something I usually personally only get on a finish, but here it is a really prominent note, and I'm getting that right as I nose the glass. There's a little caramel, but it's only noticeable after you've really been sniffing around on this for quite a while. It's really hidden behind that smoky note. There's also a dry wood note here as well, and it's not freshly sawn lumber. It is simply a well seasoned wood note. So for taste, it's going to light you up. It's hot. It's going to really light up your taste buds. This is going to give you a really long tingle, both the spice and the alcohol here. Now, I say that it's not off-putting. It's a very manageable, but it really hits you in the taste buds quick with a really big rye spice here. I'm also getting a little sweets as it rolls off the edges of the tongue, off the sides. It's a kind of a corn-like sweetness almost. So there's some corn sweetness there. I'm not picking up those caramels like I usually do. I'm getting a little hint of vanilla, but it's a very, very light vanilla, and it's way back there. But for the most part, you're getting rye spice in this glass. As for the finish, well, can you guess that it's hot? It's got a long throat and chest burn. There's some black pepper in there as well on that finish right in through here. Some black peppers kind of flaring up, but I'm also getting a little hint of that heavy, oily oak mouthfeel here too. It's not off-putting at all. It's just a very different tasting bourbon. And so my takeaway is I like this. I wanted to love this bourbon, but it just didn't quite get the job done for me. It didn't have the depth of flavor I was expecting from such a high proof. Typically, that 1792 line kind of is the same way for me. It's good, drinkable bourbon, and I've had my fair share of 1792. I put several bottles away here at the house, and I've had it out and about. But I've always felt they were just a tad underdeveloped, like something was missing from it. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I've always felt kind of, in the end, let down by 1792. Now, a side note here. Famed whiskey connoisseur Jim Murray. He publishes rankings every year of his picks in the whiskey world. He produces a book called Jim Murray's Whiskey Bible. And in late last year in 2019, he named 1792 Full Proof as the best whiskey of the year for 2020. Now, I don't want to argue with Mr. Murray because, I don't know as much as he does about this. But remember, everyone's taste buds are a little bit different. And there are a multitude of factors that can really affect your tasting experience. I'm just not feeling the love for 1792 Full Proof. It's good, but it just doesn't have that depth that I really look for. So, on the Karl scale, I'm going with 4 stars. I just can't go higher. It's a good bourbon, but it's just lacking in something. They try to make up with what they're lacking with heat. And I really feel like they should have something much more distinctive in their foolproof bourbon. This is a quickly growing field that's growing very crowded, and this high proof field. And I feel like 1792 should have stepped up and gave us a little bit more depth of flavor here to really make them shine. That's my take. Yours may be different. That's what makes the bourbon world awesome. Guys, it's Wednesday. Sitting out here by the koi pond. I got the grill going, doing some brats for this evening. I hope you and yours are having a great evening as well. And as always, I want you to stay safe and healthy. That's really important. Someday we're going to get out of this, and we're all going to be able to come together and raise a glass together and have a great time. But until then, peace and happy pours.